run this. And then start. Penny, can you just start with your first and last name so I can do a sound check?
Michelle Zeppi is my real name.
Oh, that was another thing. Did you want to go by an alias for the show?
You can go by Penny. That's my alias.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. All right, so then so I'll just call you Penny then throughout the show.
Okay.
So we're gonna start in 5, 4. Hey, light shiners. I know it's been a while. I know I've been moving. We're settled. We're great. I know it's been like a month and a half since the last episode, but as promised, I have lined up a lot of people with lived experience, former foster youth, adoptees, kinship care, people who want to share their story, and we're back and we're here. So I want to do some housekeeping before we get into introducing the guests. I need you guys to leave a 5-star rating review on Apple, iTunes, and on Spotify. Please follow and subscribe to us on Spotify. And if you aren't part of my Patreon, go check it out. You actually get video coverage of these episodes. You also get a lot of extras that I don't share on social media, a lot of content and a lot of interviews that I do with people who are in my personal life, like teachers, siblings, close friends, and they give their lived experience of me and how I was growing up with them. So there's a lot of cool content there. I think my tiers start off as low as $3 and they go up to $25, and there's a lot of levels in between. So please do that. And with all of that being said, I want to introduce our guest today. Oh. No, it's okay. Firstly, what are your pronouns, love?
She, her.
She, her. Awesome. Y'all know I'm he, him, that bitch. So don't get it twisted. So I want to introduce Penny. Penny is a former foster youth who was then adopted by her same foster parents. So I'm super excited to hear this story. Penny, introduce yourself. Who are you, love?
Hey, everybody. I'm Penny. Originate from Chicago, in the Chicago area. I was adopted very, very young. I guess kind of a unique story. Everyone I tell and things like that, they're like, oh, you should write a book. And so I really appreciate you giving me this platform and come and tell my story on, and everything you do. I think is so awesome. But I was put into foster care at 2 months old, not by choice of parent. It was like a DCFS, CPS type of case. My mother had some kind of, substance abuse issues going on. And at 4, they finally adopted me after being in the foster care system with the same family. And it was a unique experience. I was interracially adopted, and not only just like interracial lines that had to be crossed, it was like generational, because my parents, they were born in the 1940s. So it was a whole.
Your parents are Caucasians?
Yeah.
Oh, so what you're saying for the listeners is that her parents were born during Jim Crow and raised during Jim Crow. How did that work out?
It was something. Let me tell you, okay, because my mom, she's very open. She's very open to all different cultures, things like that. She's not too judgmental or anything like that. But the man I was raised by, like, he's
the man.
He's a bigot.
Wait,
I'm sorry.
Your mom has some respect, but the man, I love it.
He's a bigot. Like, now I'm estranged from them now. I might get into that. I don't know.
Are they still married?
They're still married. Yeah, they've been married out of college. They were.
Wait, you're estranged from both of them now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I was hoping at least mom came through.
Yeah. Hopefully, I don't know. Well, it's a whole different. They went legal route trying to get.
Well, if they were born in 1940, they ain't got much longer. So, girl, the pearly gates are coming close.
Do you hear me though?
The pearly gates are coming close.
That's why I'm not even that mad. Like, okay, I'm out here living though. But my mom, I was like growing up. It was like the experience I had. I was the golden child, I guess you could say, until I was the problem child. Like,
now, did they have any of their own biological children, or was everyone adopted? How was your family layout?
They did. They had 4 biological kids already who were almost, well, I think they were grown by the time I was even like thought of. They were born in like the 60s and 70s. They have 2 boys, 2 girls. And then they adopted a Korean girl with Down syndrome right before me. So I want to say she's 4 years older than me. And then I came along. And then after me, were like kids in and out the home who were like just foster or respite care for temporary. And then they came, let me see, I got to think, there's so many kids. It was like 3 girls they adopted. One they got guardianship over. Another boy they adopted, and then another boy they tried to get guardianship for. And then what's crazy is that they had him for so long until he was probably about 11, 12, and then they sent him back into the system. So it's like the boys, also the other boy, he was in and out of like group homes. He had a real like behavior problems. So then they have eventually like cut ties with him legally, things like that. But me and all the other girls, I think your mic.
I'm muted. I'll be trying to mute myself so I don't interrupt you, but then I'll be forgetting that it's muted. So I then talking and I'm not being heard. You said your one brother, did they legally adopt him?
Yeah, the one brother they legally adopted. He still has their last name and everything.
I was gonna say how, but then your second phrase was like, then they legally just like got, but like, how did that? There is no way to legally unadopt yourself. So that's why I'm wondering, like, what happened?
Right. I was so young, I don't know all the exact details. All I know is like he was in and out the homes, the group homes because of the behavior. And then like one day, because he would go for months at a time. Then one day he just never came back. So
is he legally still your adopted brother?
Yeah, legally, yeah.
So they abandoned him. Sure. That's adoption abandonment. They abandoned him. So it's similar to what my parents did to me, except that it sounds like your brother was put in like some probably program until he aged out. And then after he aged out, they just was like, fuck it, you're an adult now, you're on your own. Yeah, that is the worst thing that can happen in adoption, because that child is really by themselves. And then when you look at that situation, like me and my adopted brother, I'm lucky because he sees our adopted parents for what they are. And like, even he calls them out. He's like, you guys are fucking crazy. And the way you treated Carlos is ridiculous. So he doesn't have a relationship with them because of his own issues with them. And then of course, like how they treated me, but he and I are super close. And that's one thing I'm very thankful for, because even though it's my adopted brother, it's still my brother. Like I still was raised with him. We still had good memories. So how is your relationship? Do you have contact with him now, since he's still your brother? He's still your brother.
I don't, not for a long time. And just so I can clear it up, he was adopted by them also. So it's not like I'm talking about their biological kids. So he was adopted.
He was adopted with you. So he's your adopted brother. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. No, we don't really talk. I reached out to him a couple months ago, like when I became estranged from them, to try to have a kind of link up and maybe get some advice on how he dealt with the situation when they did that to him. But we don't really talk at all.
Just to play devil's advocate a little bit, maybe there's a little bit of animosity, a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of confusion from his end, because he's just like, they kept her, like they helped her. And even for me, with my own biological siblings, my mom and my sister died in a car accident 3 years ago. That was the first time my brothers said I wasn't their brother. Like that was the first time that my adoption actually, because before then, when I was reunified with my family, no one spoke about my adoption. Like it was my mom, this is my sister, like this is my brothers, like we family. Wow. When they died and we had to make financial decisions and we had to make decisions about end of life plans, my brother used that against me. And he was like, that's not my brother. He was adopted. Wow. Legally, he doesn't have any rights to make any decisions. But that was years, and we're good now. We're good now. But after it took us 2.5 years of not talking, and then finally we spoke, and he was just like, bro, I'm sorry. Like that was me being jealous. That was me looking at you saying like, well, he got the good white family. He went to college and he has the good career, when they didn't see the trauma of being adopted. Like you saw was the outside. You saw me going to this white family and then disappear. You didn't see them treating me like an indentured servant, a slave, getting beat, getting sodomized. Like you didn't see. You thought that, and then because my language changed, I didn't speak any Ebonics anymore. I was able to go to college. That didn't have nothing. Me going to college had nothing to do with my white parent. That was strictly me. But on the outside looking in, you think, oh look, he got it set up. No. And when I actually explained that to him, and I was just like, he was like, I'm so sorry I did that to you, bro. So the reason I give your adopted brother some a little bit playing devil's advocate, is because I feel like that's how my brothers felt. Even though we were biological brothers, like that's how my brothers felt. Like,
Right.
well, he got the easier deal, and maybe that's how
Yeah.
he feels a little bit. So keep
I,
trying.
I definitely understand like where he could be coming from for sure. Cause I know he's had to been through a very lot,
And
especially after.
the thing is, one thing that the biggest difference that I heard is that he was abandoned. You chose to be estranged. So let's keep that in consideration as well. Like
Yeah.
his y'all's parents just left him. You
Right.
chose to leave.
Well, it's not really I chose a strange. It's
Come
a
on,
really big other
come on.
situation.
That's why
One
we're here.
put on the table.
That's why we're
They,
here.
I'll say, back, what was this? Back, I've not talked to my adopted family since May because there was a situation where it goes back to jealousy, where my adopted sisters, they jumped me, assaulted me in front of my kids, everything like that.
Wait, hold on. Your sisters who your parents had adopted as well, or your sister's children?
The adopted sisters, they adopted as well. They got together, they jumped on me, assaulted me outside their house because I had moved back home. You know, the whole
are they white or are they also black?
They're black. They're black. Yeah, all the kids they adopted and took in are black except for the Korean girl.
Why were they obsessed with minorities?
And that, like, all the things, especially with the content I'm watching with you and Isaac, I'm going back in hindsight, and then with the whole situation with them not talking to me anymore, I am going back in my mind and really looking and looking under a microscope at everything that they've done and the choices that they've made. And I'm looking like side-eye to a lot of things, to be honest. Like,
I recently
I
made a video recently about, I understand now of what I think my parents were outwardly racist, conservative people who were Catholic and they were anti-gay. You adopted an openly gay black child. Why in the fuck, excuse my French, would you do that? Like, those are your key principles. You are a religious person who's anti-black. Why would you adopt a gay black child? For me, I'm just like, it's money, but then it's also knowing now my mother is a narcissist. And what do narcissists do? They do what everyone tells them not to do. And like, I literally think it was like an ego. Like, literally, it was like, so you think I can't? And I remember conversations of my mother being like, you're going to be one of the good ones. You're going to be.
I hate that term. Because he ain't use it. My adopted dad didn't use it outwardly, like, you're not like the others. But he insinuated in so many different ways where it might as well have been like literal, you know. So, like, for instance, we drive down the street, you know, people chilling on their porches during the summertime. White people, that's fine. Oh, look at them, they're having a good time. Look at them. Oh, it looks like they're having a swell time. See some black people on the porch. Oh, what, they don't have a job? Oh, they just out there kicking it all day. Like, that's literally the type of person he is.
Yeah, it sounds like my parents.
It's sickening.
Well, they weren't like my parents weren't. They weren't though. They didn't have like Confederate flags in the window. And I'm like, yeah, fuck America. No, they weren't. They were very subliminally racist.
Covert.
Like really subliminal. Like, my mother used to tell me, unless you get into college and you adhere to what we're saying, you only have 3 choices. And that is to be 6 feet behind bars, 6 feet underground. Or I forget the third. The third one was in a psychiatric in prison. I
cannot believe she let those words pass through her mouth. That's insane.
Several times. So tell me a little bit more about your experience with your adopted siblings. So you have 4 adopted siblings who are multicultural, right?
3, 4, 5. 5, and then there was another one I was raised. Actually 7.
What?
They were really, it's technically 7 because the 2 boys they left. So it's really 5 girls and 4 that were adopted, 1 with the guardianship. But all of them up until I was probably about 12, 13, we were all raised together. So yeah.
And how was that? And how was that? And then what age did you leave home?
It was crazy. Like, it was like being raised in a zoo because, for one, it's just my adopted mother, she didn't know how to control black kids, to be honest. If I just want to keep it nitty gritty, she didn't know how to really control black kids or have any kind of
and another question is, like, what ages? Like, you guys are older kids, right? Like, she's adopting older kids, or were you at birth? No, you were at birth.
Well, she got all of us as babies, and then individually adopted all of us when we were like 4 or 5-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, she definitely.
So explain to me then, because that's where my lack of education is a little bit like I say like, oh, my mom didn't know how to handle a black kid, but I was born in the inner city. Like I was a black kid until the age of 9. Do you see y'all as different because you were born with her? So
I,
your personality traits sure really came from her.
and this is what's very crazy, the nurture versus nature thing, argument and things. It's, you can bring a child up in the environment you want them to be, but those genes, they're going to like take over. I truly believe that, only because I found my family in 2010. And I always felt like the black sheep of my adopted family. I always felt like, why am I like this? Or why am I such a rebel? And this and that. But then when I got around my people, I'm looking like they act just like me, you know?
Yep.
So
Yep,
like
I
the
had the
way,
same thing. Everyone always told me like, Carlos, you so hostile. Like you always go at the jugular. And then I met my family and I was like, y'all niggas are crazy. Like y'all
yes,
niggas, like
yes, crazy. I love
you
on
just
that
go
are
right
good
to the
crazy.
jugular. But I love it because that's how I am. I'm like, all right, so let me clap back, bitch. Let me clap back.
Okay,
And they were the
period.
only people who would clap back from my. I was like, y'all niggas clap back to my clap back.
Yes. Oh, my family's have roast sessions, all type. Yeah, they're crazy for real. I love every single one of them. And then also because my mother, unfortunately, my biological mother, she's passed on. But when I did find my family, and they would be like, "Oh, you look just like her. Your body language, or you talk like her, you walk like her."
I want to talk a little bit about reunification with your biological family, but before we get there, I want to talk about that on the opposite end of the break. Before we get there, I really want to dissect what was missing. You said that your mother didn't know how to raise black kids. What was missing?
What was missing in that? I think it was a lot having to do with emotional support and really trying to understand being interracially adopted, because she was the type of woman where she didn't see color. That was always what she said. I don't see color. She was that type where she wasn't racist, but it was problematic, you know.
And I think it's totally different. Like my adopted mother didn't see color. She didn't raise me to see color. She raised me to, she said, you're going to be the Republican Barack Obama. That was like her whole thing. You're going to be the Republican Barack Obama. But at the end of the day, I still am a cis man, even though I'm gay. So I have that intersectionality, but I'm still a cis man. How could a white woman teach a black woman how to live when black women are the most like this woman will never be able to tell you how disrespected you're going to be. She will never be able to prepare you with subliminal racism, with just microaggressions, macroaggressions. Like this woman, even though she's a woman and women are disrespected, but not the most disrespected woman on this planet is the black woman. Like, how did she prepare you for that? Like that's real. I'm just like, how did she prepare you for that?
Like it became the problem where I didn't have that. Like people, like you say, outside looking in, it looks all great. Oh, you have 2 great role models to look up to, but I didn't have 2 black role models to look up to. I don't know how to navigate myself in this world. I was never given the tools to live as a black woman in this world. The toolbox I was given was for a white woman.
Yeah, and so they gave you tools. That's like someone saying, "Oh, I need a flathead screwdriver," and you're like, "All right, I'm coming," and you have a box full of Phillips head screws.
Exactly.
They're tools. I can't use them for the job I have to get done, which is to be a black woman. Did your parents have any mirrors of yourself growing up? Were they friends with black women? Did you see black women on a daily basis at church, at school, etc.?
That was another thing that was an issue, was no, on the regular, I didn't see any black women. But the good thing, I did grow up in a black neighborhood. It was the suburbs of Chicago. Like I say middle class, like lower middle class area. And I guess when they first moved there, it was all white. But over time, they were there for so long, it became a black neighborhood. I had black neighbors, things like that, but not really role models to look up to. It was one black woman I saw like every 2 weeks. She took me from like 5 to 12 to get my hair done religiously. But other than that, no. Then on top of it, they were kind of antisocial people where they didn't have friends. So if they did have somebody come over, more than likely they weren't black. So, and the guy, my adopted dad, he definitely didn't have any black friends.
So your neighbors, so you said you had black neighbors, you had some experiences with blackness, but like not like your white mom didn't have like a black best friend, or they didn't.
No.
And the one key thing you said, and I don't know if you watched the Colin Kaepernick documentary on Netflix. One
Not
thing
yet.
that I did like about that documentary is that his mom actually took him to the hairstylist, and like the hairstylist was at home, sitting at home, and she's like, you want something to eat?" And he was like, she's like, "No." He was like, "Yeah." And like they gave
I
him
still haven't
soul
watched that.
food. They gave him soul food, and he was eating it up in there.
Oh
She's
my
like,
God.
Colin doesn't like too much seasoning. He was just like,
Dude, you
just
know.
and then she was just, you could just tell that his mother had, well, first of all, never been to a black musician's house, because, and that's something that scene stood out to me specifically because by the time that I was able to get my hair done, like my mother would never let me grow my hair out. I always wanted to grow, I have beautiful long hair. When I say like, when people like, I hate that good hair, bad hair debate,
I'll
but I
keep the
have like that,
curl.
I have a desirable curl. It's fluffy, it's long, it's healthy.
Mhm.
And I've always wanted long hair, and my parents would never allow me to grow my hair out. I always got a buzz cut, and they always said that natural black hair is unkept and is unprofessional. Like that was,
That's what they did to
and
my brothers too. They would take it to like the one, and it would just be
it
the
would just be,
bald
I would just
cut.
buy, it would just be about all I ever got. If you look at
Yeah.
even like, look on this, on the this haircut, this was my haircut for life.
And
Just,
that's exactly what my brothers wore.
just
That
this,
same
no,
exact
no
haircut.
lineup, no nothing. Just a bald one cut, no fade, no
One all the way
personality,
around.
a one all the way around. And it's just when I went to when I became an adult in college and I went to my first black hairstylist, and I was a little cheap because I was broke, and I was like, I ain't going to a salon, but and she's like, it's at my house. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I was like, okay, I've never been to.
Right.
I went to her house and she was eating breakfast with her kids, and she's like, you want a plate? And I was like, a plate? And then so now every time I go to a stylist house, they always gonna feed you. You always gonna get
Mhm.
like the experience is different. It's a different
Mhm.
experience when you get your hair done. It's almost
It
spiritual.
is.
It's
It is.
almost spiritual. Like
And I
if
looked up to the lady that did my hair. Like, I don't think she probably knew it, but I looked up to her as the black woman because, like, on the regular, that was the only black woman I
woman,
saw. But
did your
she would get
mother
you right.
did your mother ever go with you? Like, did she ever go
Uh,
to try to learn or try to say like, how's this experience? Like, how does
oh yeah,
that
she
work out?
did. She did. Actually, before she got with the or met the lady that did my hair for all those years, she actually was doing it herself. Like, she'd get the rubber bands. I remember sitting there and she'd square off the parts and put it on. And
So
I
she
remember
tried.
crying
She
about it.
tried.
She
She
did. She
tried.
did try. But then I got that 4C hair. I got that real like thick, spongy. So she did what she could.
She did what she could. Oh my goodness. Well, that's one reason also I love this podcast is a lot of people think, especially even on my content on TikTok, people think like, oh, you're anti-adoption, you're anti-foster parent. I'm like, no, I'm anti them trying. I'm anti like these people don't try. I'm anti the people who don't try.
Yeah.
You don't have to get it right all the time. But then this is why I have this platform, because there could be a white foster or adoptive parent listening to this right now. Is like, oh, let me make sure I got a black hairstylist. Let me make sure we got some black neighbors. Like, because sometimes they don't know. They don't know what will benefit. So that's why I
Yeah.
always ask, like, what would be beneficial to you? Okay, so transparency and interracial adoption. Your parents, you were clearly a black child adopted at birth. Did they let you, what age did they let you know that you were adopted?
Oh, this is a funny story because they used to tell it to me growing up all the time. I actually, and it's messed up looking back. Like, they used to buy me slave books, like to teach me my Black history. It was never the positive, the queens of Africa. It was slave books. That's where I came from and originated from, was slavery, apparently. Okay. So
I'm laughing because that's literally all I thought. I was like, black people didn't have nothing.
I swear to God, even in school, they teach you the same thing and get in trouble for asking about Malcolm X,
Mm-hmm.
So
he was a terrorist.
The story they told me was that they were reading me a slave book. It's a good night book. I don't know why that was okay, but they were reading me a slave book. And I asked, oh, well, I guess it was about a woman who bought a slave. And I asked her, oh, mommy, did you buy me too? And that's when I guess I opened the conversation. I had been only like 3 years old. Like I don't even remember this, but I remember them telling me
That you asked your mother, did she buy you? But
yes.
actually, unless she adopted you from foster care, yes, she absolutely did buy you.
Yeah.
If it was a privatized adoption, absolutely, yes, she did. But she got a discount because you were a black baby.
A black crack baby.
oh, that's bitch. That's clearance.
Okay.
They're on clearance. They're the last act.
Okay.
I'm not laughing at that, y'all. I just have a very dark sense of humor. All right, go ahead with the story.
But yeah, and you said it was the problem of them doing it. The fact that they remembered the story to even retell it to me, because I didn't remember that. But why are you even holding on to the story even to tell me about it again? It's like a question in itself.
That is very questionable. That is very, very, very questionable.
Yeah. So I'm assuming. I'm sorry.
No, I just got a lot of questions. I'm very interested. I'm very interested to
I'm
learn about you.
I'm assuming that's when I like started to see, the difference in our skin color and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So that's when your parents have you reading slave books? So like clearly they weren't like, hey, you're white, because there are some adopted parents that try to convince their black kids that they're white. Trust me, I've interviewed them and I know a few.
That's sick.
Well, Isaac was, if you listen to Isaac's episode, he didn't know until he was in college. I was like, how did the fuck did know?
Yeah, I heard that.
He didn't know that he was black until he went to college. I was like, well, goddamn.
Yeah, well, see, I don't know if it's got to do with the complexion or what, but I know I ain't no mixed passing with me at all or nothing. So.
Well, can you imagine? I've interviewed people who are our complexion, like darker complexions, and they think that they're white. Like they've been told their life that I'm white. But then, I've done interviews. I had one, what was her name? Oh, I can't remember the name. Even her name was, I say Crystal because it was Crystal. Like the way it was spelled was black as hell too. I was like, you gotta but she was adopted at birth by a inner city, like a real ratchet ass black family. Like I don't know how they got approved back in the 90s, but she's white and she was raised black. Like when I say black, like her parents raised her as a black woman. Like they didn't.
Wow.
And it was so cool hearing her story, because we always talk about racial mirroring and showing people with our culture. She didn't get shown our culture. Like, so she really does, like, for a lot of her life, she thought that she was black. And then when she got into adulthood, she had to teach herself, like, hey, society doesn't know that you were raised by black people. You're just a blonde-haired, brown-haired white woman. So you can't be over here accessorizing with the nails and doing what your sisters can do, because they are black women. Even though you're raised with them, you are not a black woman. So it was such a good conversation to speak to a transracial adoptee from the other side. I was just like, that's
I came across one chick like that. Like back in high school, I knew that was, raised with all black family members, but she was, white as a sheet of paper.
White as white can be. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to ask Penny about her reunification with her biological family, the current status of her relationship with her adoptive family and siblings, and kind of give her the opportunity to share more of her lived experience. We'll be right back, y'all. All right, so we're technically paused. So if you need to take a bathroom break or anything right now is the time to do it, because I paused everything. But if you're good, then we can just go right back into the next segment.
Yeah, I'm good.
You're good? All right, perfect. I'm not. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I got a weak bladder. I was like, let me offer a bathroom break so I don't have to look like the one who's taking a bathroom break.
I think I'm good for like another 30.
I've been peeing. I had 3 cups of coffee this morning.
Oh,
never good. Never good.
I'll like drinking water.
I do need some water.
I go through you straight like water. Oh my God, it's snowing. Oh no. That snow coming down.
All right, so I'm gonna just do a quick re-intro, and then we'll be good to go.
Okay.
Hey, Light Shiners, I hope you're enjoying this episode of Wards of the State. Please, 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 like they said in the commercial, please leave us a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star rating and review. And also while you're there, leave us a comment or two. You can stop by the website carlosdealer.com to drop a donation. Your donations is helping keeping this show going. It takes about like $50 to $60 to produce each show. I'm doing that out of my pocket and the kindness of my heart, and with some TikTok funds. So thank y'all on TikTok. I love y'all. But your support will be greatly, greatly appreciated if you donate directly to the donation link in the website, compared to me trying to rely on TikTok funds. So with that being said, make sure you're leaving a 5-star rating review. That's free. That's free support. If you want to go the extra mile, you can go on the donation link on carlosdealer.com. And then lastly, I don't got a lastly. So I don't got a lastly. Just support us. But we're back with Miss Penny. Oh, Penny, your story is wild, girl. Like wild. Yeah. I want to know more. I want to learn about your biological family. But before we get there, I want to talk about kind of what happened. How did you, okay, so like, did you go to high school with your adoptive parents? Did you age out? I want to know a little bit more about how you got to where you are now. And then I want to talk about how you reunified with your biological family.
Okay, cool. I stayed with them. First time I moved out, I was 16, and I got pregnant at 15. I'm also a teen mom.
Okay.
And moved in with the baby daddy, his side of the family, at 16. It didn't work out. Moved back home. So it's kind of always their house been a home base when I needed, the extra familial support and finances, get my finances back together or whatever. But
and that's
I want to say
blessing.
about back in,
That's a blessing
yeah.
right there, because a lot of us adoptees, especially transracial adoptees, once we leave home, we don't have anything.
Yeah, and that's one thing I can say. Like, even all of the stuff they done put me through the last 9 months or whatever, they did have my back for a long time. Even every time I fell, I need a little lift up, they were there to do it. Like co-signer or put their name on even a car. They helped me out doing that before.
My mom has not given me a dime since I was 15. When I say a dime,
wow,
everything. And this is one thing that I don't like to boast about, but my therapist told me I should be very proud. Everyone looks at me like you saw me on social media and you're like, oh, he's so smart, he's so articulate, he's so handsome. That's all me. Like, when I say that's all, at 15, everything stopped. Healthcare, financial aid, a house. I was sex trafficked. I was eating out of the garbage can at 15 years old. So when I hear stories like yours, I'm like, damn, what was wrong with my motherfucking parents? Like, God, and I wasn't a bad kid. It's not like I was out here gangbanging. Like, I wasn't a bad kid. I had some emotional problems. Yeah. But I wasn't a bad kid. And when I hear stories about yours, it actually revigorates me to support adoptive parents, because no, your parents weren't perfect. But if you can say, even as an adult woman, yeah, these people they had me when I was at my lowest.
Yeah.
That's literally the bare minimum they can do as parents. But at least
they really did.
That. But at least
feel like it was more because they knew I had a baby young, and my mother, she was like this with my son, like almost like a mom, second mom to him. And I think that by supporting me, she seen my son benefiting from it. So I think it was more to make sure my kids were okay. But
do they have the same support to your other siblings who don't have children?
My one adopted sister does have that support. Yeah.
And she doesn't have kids. So they just don't support their kids regardless of a child or not.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying like the one that has a kid she supports, and then the baby, because she was like the baby. She never left the home until like this past year. Okay. They supported her like living wise and things like that.
And she doesn't have a child.
Everyone else no.
And she doesn't have a child.
The youngest doesn't. No.
Well, I think the baby kind of has like special privileges always in any family,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that I think every child is different, and I think the parent has the right to kind of give what they think that each child needs. But basic support should go for every child, you know. And
Yeah.
I want to love your parents, but the fact that I know that they gave their two boys away and abandoned them, I'm just like, fuck y'all.
Yeah,
Fuck
I
y'all.
mean, it's like it's kind of like the scale. It's like you did this much good, but it's like how much bad did you do though? You know, and then also
Mhm.
before you even got into social care or social work and foster care, what is it that you may have done in your past that made you like want to be such a white savior and taking all
Well,
this
that
flack
was
and
my question. Having parents that were that old, did you were you ever surrounded by any type of racism or bigotry or anything? Because
if
you
it
had to be.
was really undercover because they have biological, you know, the 4 kids I mentioned, and they got married, they had wives, and we go to family barbecues, and just was a weird vibe. You know, it was never no, they can't come. It was never no outward racism, but I felt weird vibes. And like when I got pregnant with my son at 15, I just started to attach myself to my baby daddy and his family. Like I really didn't want anything to do with them or going to family outings. It was just weird.
I feel that. No, I understand as a transracial adoptee, there is an energy where you can pick up as a child where it's just like no one's
Yeah.
calling you a nigger, but like no one's
Like,
also treating you like they're literally thinking like you could feel. And this is one thing that which is why I say like white people will never understand. Like we can feel that shit. I can feel
mm-hmm,
that shit.
mm-hmm. Or
You
like I
may
used to come
not
home from
say it, but I
school.
can feel that.
Yeah, because I went to Catholic. They sent me to Catholic school for
I was
9 years too.
oh, I
It
was in
was
Catholic school
predominantly
too.
white,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
used to come home sometimes crying, like you know, one of the other parents who was like the room mom would do something to me or single me and my black friends out, but not Jessica and Kaylee and them.
Some girl,
And so
I was in Catholic school. I distinctly remember this. I distinctly remember this. We went to the dunes in Saginaw, Michigan, and the dunes. And the teacher said, my teacher said, put on sunscreen, otherwise y'all look like Carlos.
oh hell no.
Proceeded to give all of the white, I was the only black kid in the class, proceeded to give everyone in the class sunscreen, came to me and says, you don't need sunscreen because black people can't get skin cancer. Not only were you racist, you actually put my health in danger because we very much can get skin cancer.
Okay,
Like
that's crazy as hell. See, like I haven't dealt with like that in your face racism or even smart remarks. It was just like you said, like the vibe or a certain look that they give you, or they'll pull their purse closer to
and
them or
like
something like that.
you're from the Midwest, so I think that's very much a Midwestern thing. Like there are racist people in Chicago and Michigan and Indiana, but
Yeah.
it's real minuscule and it's real it's real low. I didn't fully start experiencing racism with my adopted family until we moved to Florida. That's when they were like, "Who's this little nigger with you?" Like literally,
And that's the first
like
place I got called a nigger,
literally.
Florida.
I
Yeah.
remember going to Walmart and white men being like, "Is this nigger your nigger?" And I was like, "Did you just say that to
Lord,
me?"
I believe it. I was in Orlando visiting my godmother, and we were going on the bus. It was me and my black god sister, and the guy just shut the door like something. All I heard was nigger, and he shut the door on us. And like that was the first time I ever was called a nigger. I'm like, oh, I ain't going back down south anymore.
No, and I tell people this all the time. I remember one time I knew that my race, because even though I was older, you start to forget things. Like I was 9 years old when I was adopted, but by like 11 or 12, I really started to assimilate. Like I had gotten rid of my Ebonics. I was talking in correct English vocabulary. Like I was kind of liking it. And I remember we went to Vegas and I lost my parents. My brother is my stepbrother, who's my dad's son from his first marriage. He wasn't adopted. He's just from the first marriage. So he's like my step adopted brother. We both got lost together. We reported ourselves to security. And when I tell you they separated us, and I never knew like why they would separate us. They separated us thinking that like we were friends or we had just met in the casino. And he asked for his parents. And I'm describing they just asked you like, describe your parents. I'm like, like my mom has brown hair and brown eyes, and she's wearing some overalls, and she's probably pushing a stroller with my little brother. They found my parents for my brother, like my white brother, in 5 minutes. I was there at security for 5.5 hours.
Oh my God.
They did not find a black woman that met
That's
the
crazy.
description
That's
of what I
crazy.
was
That's kind of
saying.
like the experiences I had. Like that's so relatable because there's been times where like we go into a restaurant and go to reserve a table or something. Like, oh, is it just you? Like, no, my parents are right here. That guy is my dad. You know?
They don't. People just they just don't. And literally, there I was just like, and then it became my fault because once they figured out those are my parents, like, well, you didn't tell us your parents are white. I sorry, my mother told me we don't. No, my mother said we don't see color. So race wasn't an issue for me.
Yeah.
My mother's she has brown hair and she's wearing overalls. Bitch, find her because we don't see color. And that was the first time I was just like, oh, color matter. It actually matters because they won't look for the bitch. Like they won't. So ever after then, I was like, a white woman.
White.
She is a white woman.
White woman. Okay, all caps. White woman.
So you went through this experience with your siblings and with your adoptive family. What age oh girl, your life, you got pregnant young. You have your baby daddy black because he sound black.
Yeah,
okay, because the way you were like, I want to hang out with his family. I was like, the baby daddy got to be black. The way she was trying to hang out with that black ass family.
Yeah, his mama was the first lady who gave me soul food and everything.
So like you felt like you love that part. You love seeing that part. And I think maybe even for your kids, like you're happy that your kids got that family, even though it maybe not worked out for y'all. Like my kids got some blackness. They're there.
Yes.
How was it when you reunified with your family? What happened? How did you do it? How did you find them? Tell it all.
That part was just, it was crazy because, okay, it's a story that goes into a story. I had, there was another white lady that was friends with the lady that raised me, and they both adopted black kids, okay? And the girl that we were same age, raised almost together, almost like, that's why I call my god sister. She's a black girl raised by the white lady, and she got kind of like abandoned. They, I guess, try to reverse her adoption or something like that. Anyway, the caseworker she had at the time got me kind of in touch with my family because the whole time I knew my mom's name because as soon as I could read, they had a little file cabinet. I was in the file cabinet looking up my real birth certificate, which thank God I still have. So I looked at my mom's name. As soon as I could use the white pages, I'm looking up on the white pages, Mary.
You got to keep your first birth certificate.
Yeah, they had it like all my DCFS paperwork in this one folder.
So do you know that they will, a lot of us don't get that. It's sealed or it's destroyed. And because you do have that, you legally do have some, like you have rights. You can just show that birth certificate to show the courts that, yeah, these are my parents. So like if your siblings ever die or your mother ever dies or anything like that, you still have that right. Now, if your siblings try to fight you legally, they can, but most people won't. But the fact that you have your original birth certificate, blessing.
Yeah.
Blessing.
Yeah, it is. Because like I remember just looking at it all the time, just like thinking about my mom and my dad and just thinking about where they were, what they looked like, all that.
How did you find them?
Come to find, well, at the time I had a guy who I was kind of like on and off dating that was in Cook County Jail in Chicago. And I had, thanks to the caseworker, she wasn't supposed to do it. She could have lost her job, but she gave me names. She gave me social security numbers, birth dates of family members, things like that. I got a name for my brother. I'll just call him D. He was incarcerated. So no matter of fact, I didn't even know he was incarcerated. His name was popping in my head when I was searching up the guy I was dating, and his name popped up the same year that my brother would have been born in. And the name that he has is so old school that it's like it had to be him.
You know, like, it had to be him. Same year, it had to be him.
Old school name, it had to be him. So I go down to the county to go try to visit on the days set on the computer. And unfortunately, the days were wrong. But the lady, she turned the computer around, let me see the picture of the guy. He looked just like me. And when I tell you I broke down and cried, I cried for 3 days. After I found him, I literally
make me cry right now.
Like, I cried for 3 days. It was it's like hitting the lottery. Like, forget hitting the lottery for $1 million. I found my family out of tens of millions of people in the world. Like, nothing could have made me happier in life. Like, it was great. It was awesome. I found out that a lot of them had migrated from Chicago to Toledo. So when I got them funds together, I went out there and I think I found him like August, September. Matter of fact, I wrote the letter sometime in the summertime. I didn't hear anything back from him at all. So that's what made me go down there and look. And that was like September. October, I'm in Ohio going and finding my real. I get to see my sister for the first time. I have an older sister. I got 2 older sisters. I have an older brother. I'm the baby of the 4.
I'm the
And I got
baby of the
aunties,
4. Why
uncles.
am I the baby of the 4 too? I'm the baby of
Are
4
you?
kids too. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
That's crazy. It's
That is
like
so you're making my cheeks hurt because I'm smiling so much right now. I'm smiling so much. You're making my cheeks
I'm
hurt.
trying not to cry because it's like it was the happiest times of my life. Like
Me, you know what? I try to explain that time. So I found my family on Facebook. I found my mom on Facebook. Same similar thing. My caseworker, I got my file, and I don't know if she did this on purpose or if she just like did it accidentally. But all of the files were actually redacted with names. All the names were redacted. Like redacted. But there was a sticky, they were like, and we're talking like paper files. Like I got the actual, like, I went to the place, I was like, run me my file and got the actual paperwork. And there was a note that had everyone's name, birth date, and it was a
ain't that a
handwritten note.
blessing?
It was a handwritten note, and it wasn't redacted because it was little like stuck, so you could tell like she like wrote it on a sticky note and
Oh
just like
wow.
stuck it on the file, and then like put it like I don't know why she did it or
Okay,
how she
me
did it.
too.
And
Yeah.
she's my friend on Facebook, and she's never said anything to me, but I think she knows. But she, like, I think she was just like, he will find this once he's ready, and like once she handed over, because once you get adopted, your file goes into like a vault. So
Yeah.
it was like on the bottom. It was in the bottom on the back. Like it was like way in the back of all these papers. And there was this random ass sticky note. And it had my mother's name, my sister's name, birth dates. And I was just like, all I had to do was I literally went on Facebook and I was like, my mother's first name, mother's last name.
That's amazing.
I had 5 options. Five people popped up. 3 of them were in Michigan. So I was like, all right, so she probably in Michigan. And I just sent 3 messages. I was like, hey, did you lose a kid in 2001? Hey, did you lose a kid in 2001? Hey, did you lose a kid in
You see how it
2001?
worked out like that? That's
And
crazy.
my mom responded. She's like, Carlos, I've been looking for you. My sisters were there. My brothers were there. I was the last one. I was the last one they had. And when I tell you, people won't understand how you feel when you are reunified. And I'm not saying my birth family are perfect, because they're very flawed. And I have an issue with a lot of things they do. But just knowing that there are people who look like me, who sound like me, who behave like me, who have the same characteristics as me. Like we are all thugs. Like we're thugs. Like me and my family, we're thugs. We thugs. Like I didn't know I was a thug until I met them, and I was like, no wonder I'm good at business. I'm not good at business. I threaten people. Like I'm out here like, bitch, I will consume you.
Strong.
Bitch, I will destroy. I will buy your business, bitch. Like, and then my mom's over there. Like, I was like, so that's where I got it from. You know, that's where I got it from. So when you were just sharing your story, like it made my cheeks like hurt, because like even my story, the odds of you to go through this file and find this name and go to this prison, and then this person's there. And then on top of that, for them to be willing to accept you. How was that?
Yeah.
Because it's different for everyone.
It was a journey. Still, it's kind of a journey, because my oldest sister, we've always got along. What is she? She's like 46, I want to say. We've always got along. She was very down to earth. She's a lot like me, little bourgeois, sweet. Then the other sister I have, the 2 sisters I have, I'm a mixture of the 2. Like she's crazy. She's the very opposite of the other sister. Whatever comes to her head, she's gonna say type stuff. She's not afraid to like stand up for herself, fight, whatever. And I love all of my siblings to death. But then I have the brother. We're not on speaking terms right now. We actually recently reached out, and I kind of had to back away from it, only to say my feelings in the end, because it's like we kind of fall out ever since we met, fall out, get back together, and it's like I've had too much heartbreak in my life. I don't want to keep on breaking my own heart, you know. Even though I love him to death, I will never stop loving him, but it's just I can't mess with you. You know,
so that's kind of how I am with one of my biological brothers. Like after that went down at my mom and my sister's funeral, like you can only imagine losing your mom and your sister at the same time, and then going through all of that.
It's gotta be a lot.
My one brother got the life insurance, the little life insurance that my mom did have. He took it, I paid for the entire. My brother paid for like 2,000, but out of the like 11,000, I paid 9. I paid the majority.
Oh, wow.
And I wasn't able to make any decisions. And me and my brother, who were paying for it, we kind of got our shit together. But then my other brother, we haven't. And I've kind of gone to the same point. Like, I love you. I will always love you. I will never speak ill of you. But the way that you live your life is not cohesive to the way I live my life. And the way that you aren't healed or not willing to be healed is not a way that I'm.
And that's exactly right there, the
talk to.
healing. He's got so much healing to do, and I wish I could do it for him, because it's like,
right. Like I will
all
be
that
here for
anger.
you. I can give you, but my brothers too. So much anger, in and out of prison for domestic violence, beating up everybody. And I'm
Yeah,
just like,
mine's
bro,
in, he's in right now in the feds
mine's in
right
too.
now.
Mine's in too. He getting out in 2 years, and everyone's trying to think of like me and my brother are actively, and also it's to the point where like we think that he might be mentally, because no one's ever given him. I think he might be autistic. I think my brother actually might be autistic, but because of the system overlooked him, no one's ever actually diagnosed him with anything. Like, he needs to see a doctor who can diagnose him if he is autistic, if he does have some type of antisocialistic personality, because that's what we believe. He needs to be in the right facilities that can help him. I mean, my brother want to help him, because we honestly, we're it.
Right. It could be possible, because like I guess they model the whole symptoms over white boys, so he could definitely fall through the cracks
and just and fall through. Like, he scrubs himself with erasers to the point where his skin will peel. And I just thought that was just from trauma, but then when you start to learn, I'm like, that's actually on the spectrum, like self-harm to a certain. And it's not like he's self-harming. He just does that to deal with. It's not like he's like, I'm gonna hurt myself. No, he doesn't want to hurt himself, but that's how his brain deals with stress. I'm like, that's a chemical imbalance, buddy. Like, but no one's talking about that, especially Down syndrome, especially misdiagnoses, especially when we're talking about men who are now 36 and 40. He's almost 40 years old. They overlooked that in the early 90s and 2000s. They didn't look at that. He was just an angry foster kid. No, I think he's on the spectrum, actually. And it would make sense,
because my mom was kind of like Ritalin or Depakote.
This Ritalin, Ritalin, Adderall, Respidol, Wellbutrin. They just try to drug it when I'm just like, you can't. And if you are going to give drugs for the right mental disorder. Like, it's not even the right mental disorder. So we have about 10 more minutes left of the show. We've talked about your adoptive parents. We've talked about your adoptive siblings, your adoptive parents' biological siblings. Overall, going from the day you got adopted, from you can remember until now, what is your take from it?
My take from it all? My take from it,
because like right now, the argument on my TikTok is like, would you rather have been aborted? So not me asking like, would you rather have died? But like people, like that's like the take
in
now.
Realness, now my take is that I just think that parents that are going to adopt, whether it be interracial or otherwise, you need to have the tools. You have to be prepared, and you have to be open-minded. You can't just be like, I'm going to think this way and make my child assimilate, because it's not going to work like that. They're going to present you, and then to be real, like the argument of would you rather be aborted or been adopted? As a kid, there's so many times I cried just from trauma and pain that I prayed that I was never born. I didn't want to be born. And a lot of times I said, I never want to be here. I didn't choose this, things like that. Like, I'm grateful for my life now. I'm grateful that I got 2 beautiful kids and a whole future ahead of me. But then it was just so depressing and so sad that I didn't want to be here, so.
I totally feel you. So overall, you would say, if you given the option that you already were adopted and you already in this process, you would say that you just wish that your parents were more educated, more anti-racist, more willing to do the work to become parents to Black kids. That's pretty much what it is.
More. And kind of like validate me more too, because even now, like last time I tried to bring up the traumas and things that their shortcomings and stuff, it's just like it's gaslighting. It's I tried my best and you don't appreciate and things like that. So
do you guys ever talk about like Black Lives Matter or like what happened in 2020? Like how did that affect your family? Because they have so many Black children and multicultural children. How did that affect them? And then they also have their own white kids. So y'all got like a family of what, like 9 or 10? You got 9 or 10 siblings?
Yeah, about yeah. I can't count them all. But yeah, I'm not sure how if they ever brought it up to their white kids, because like I really feel like their white kids are Republicans or they marry Republican type people, like Trumpster type, type people with the Punisher on the back of the truck type, So, but she's very receptive because, like I've said, she's always been open minded and things. Like if it wasn't for her, I would never have been adopted. Like it was up to the man, it would not have happened. He just signed his name on the line because that's what she really wanted.
That's what she wanted.
Yeah.
But like even then though, even that right there is harmful towards you as the adoptee. Because if one parent adopts and they are willing to do the work, like you said, your mom did your hair. She tried, but you had one parent that didn't try at all. He didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, well, actually, he tried like volleyball games, things like that. Like he showed
Girl,
up.
that's just the parent. That's just the parent. That's just the parent. That's just the parent.
Yeah, as far as like
did he go? Did he learn how to do your hair? Did he?
No, he didn't go as far as to do that.
Did he learn how to communicate with a Black woman? What Black women will go through? And this is the thing. To be a parent of a Black child, just like we have to work twice as hard to get half as far as Black people, to be a parent of a Black child, you're going to have to work twice as hard to get half as far as a parent. I love how we forget, like, well, oh yeah, you're gonna have to work twice as hard to get half as far as a Black person in the society. But as a parent to raise a Black child, if you're white, you're going to have to work twice as hard as you did with your white children. And you're not even going to get half as far.
You're not going to get half as far. And see, that's why I think where it was they fumbled the ball. It was just like they put in a little effort, but it was, it just was not all the way there. Like, and then on top of it, they had to deal with 5 other kids. And that's another issue too that I kind of want to bring up is the fact that people will, I won't say collect kids, but if you can't handle the first 2 or 3 kids you bring on, don't bring on anymore. Don't do that.
Well, and speaking of that, the last thing I want to bring up with you, the last topic I want to bring up with you is unadoption, or you guys know I call it adoption annulment. If you've been following me on TikTok, you know that that's one thing that is I advocate for. I think it's almost insane that there is a law that says you are connected with this person legally. No, you cannot reverse it. What?
It's insane. I think that's how I found your page in the first place. I think I might have been like looking around for some type of information about that because like we've had a falling out back in May. We've not spoken, me and my adoptive parents. And frankly, I don't want my last name anymore. Nope. It's $300 to get my name changed. I can get that done soon.
And then even then, I've been married. My last name is different from I took my husband's name. So my last name is not the same. But guess what? They can, do you know about filial laws, right? Do you know what a filial law is?
No.
FILLAL, filial. It's a law that's on the books. Your parents can sue you if you do not take care of them when they age.
I heard about that. Yeah. I didn't know it's called filial, but yeah.
Filial laws mean your parents can sue you.
I've heard something about that.
My white adoptive mother can sue me in 20 years because she can be like, we put you through private Catholic school and you owe us because you're successful. And my mother, she claims that like them raising me made me successful, even though I was abandoned. I was in sex trafficking at 15 and everything I've gotten is my own since 15. But she will say, well, we got you to high school and we got you through middle school with a Catholic education. So you owe us. I know she would be the bitch to try to sue me. And here's the way, I work, I work hard for my money. You will disappear.
Okay. Yeah, I really wish.
And I said this on a public podcast. You will disappear if you try to sue me for filial laws, because how the fuck are you going to sue me to take care of you in old age when you didn't take care of me when I was 15? You will disappear. So when we talk about unadoption, annulment, what is your ideal, and what is your, like you said, you started following me because of that. Like, did you know that there was no way to unadopt yourself? Like, did you know that you were stuck?
I had an idea because I was like Googling around ever since like we had our falling out. Well, even before that, because it was a time where I just wanted to disconnect from them completely. I wanted to have my own life. I kind of felt like even guilty having the life that I had, if that makes sense. Like I didn't want to be in my skin. I wanted to start fresh, but then I go back and be regular family. But now it's like I don't want to have the name. I don't want to have the connection.
You
And
already
I
you
think
have your
that should really
biological
make it
family.
easier.
You already have your biological family.
Yeah, I
Congratulations.
have my own family of biological
So
aunties, uncles,
why
all that. I
isn't
have no
there a
kids.
law that says, hey, this worked out for a little bit, now it doesn't? Just like divorce. Hey, this worked out for a
Exactly.
little bit,
Like you touched
now it
on,
doesn't.
yeah, like you touched on the other day, and you were like, what happens if they I forgot where I was going with this, but you were talking about something about a situation where it happens in the future and your name was still on the birth certificate. I lost the thought, but
Well, no. What I usually, I think the video that you're speaking on is what happens. Okay, I think I was talking about filial laws. That's what the video I was actually talking about. Filial laws is what happens when in 10 years you don't have any type of communication with them, any type of anything with them, and then all of a sudden they want to make life-changing decisions for you. It works both ways. Your parents have rights over you, so unless you get married or you create a living will, they will be your next of kin. And if there's not any way to discern, like I don't want to be with this person, adoption is the only law. Go ahead, since you got in your brain, go
yeah,
ahead,
you're talking
say it.
about messing up family lineages even. Like,
Mhm.
because if somebody goes back on ancestry, they're looking at the black and white paper, like, oh well, Bob, that was my grandfather, but no, Bob really wasn't your grandfather. But you actually have another grandfather.
Well, do we? And then what have we seen on TikTok? Actually the video that made me make that video was this girl went viral. She was like, my grandparents were actually black. And then she went through, I don't know if you saw it, but she went through her whole family history on ancestry.com. And I said, well, how do you know that one of those people weren't adopted? Because you don't look black at all. So she's like, well, it's in my DNA. Your DNA? And you how do you know that one of those people? And I feel like I'm sorry. The reason I made that video is if I had a child, right? If I had a child, and let's say I had a child with someone who was white or light skinned, their family history, their family lineage will look a lot different because it's going to be me, then my white parents, and then their white parents and their white parents. That's not the truth. That's not the
Exactly.
truth.
Exactly.
So
Like
you're
I have
actually
a
you're not that white. You may be white because I had sex with a mixed person, but you're not that white. Family heritage, family lineage is very important when it comes to adoption, and it gets erased because they're changing birth. Who the fuck?
Exactly. And that made it so hard because my family was looking for me. They were looking for me from 6 to 7 to 8 to 10 to 12. They were looking for me, but they were looking for a Rosetta.
Yep.
I was adopted. They changed my name to Michelle.
Yep.
And so they're looking for this. They can't find me because I no longer exist. And that's one of the problems when like transparency, you also tell people where they come from. You need to tell the parents who support the child wanting to find.
Well, and not only that, there are medical reasons why this is important. Who is to say that you won't fuck your brother?
Let me tell you, in high school, because I knew my brother's name probably like about 14, 15. I used to ask, like, or do you have a mom named Woo Woo? Just to make sure,
But you know what I mean? Like, there are actual reasons why we need to know this information. Like, are we second cousins? Are we third cousins?
Yes.
And then on top of that, I have a client right now. She just figured out she was adopted. She's 56 years old.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
You know how she figured out she was adopted?
Did she do ancestry?
No, she's never done ancestry.
She tried to donate.
No. She got cancer, a specific type of breast cancer, which is distinctly handed down from the maternal side of your family. So pretty much 90% of the women in your family get this cancer. So most people who have this cancer, they do preventative measures. Like there's actually medicines and things that you can do to help, especially if you know that it's in your family. And the doctor goes, did your mother not ever warn you about this? And she goes, well, no, my mother never had breast cancer, no other than my great grandmother. Because the doctor was like, a woman in the last 2 generations died of cancer. Like the way that like it's rapid in your family. And she's like, no one's ever died of breast cancer in my family. She went home and told her family that she had cancer. And that's when she learned that she was adopted.
That's a lot to take in.
She then went and did an ancestry DNA test where she found her grandmother who are still alive, They both got that cancer and survived it. And
That
she
is
spoke to them,
crazy.
and they would have been like, yeah, it's literally genetic. It's in our family. It's
Wow.
dangerous not to tell your children.
It
It's
is.
dangerous. It's either whether they hook up with a family member or a health reason, diabetes, cancer, um,
Mhm.
hypertension. All of these things are genetic. It
Yeah,
is
even
not
if
your
we go
right to
past
keep that
that,
from
like
us.
even addictions and substance abuse and things like that. That's why I've never went down that road because I
Well, me
know that it
either.
runs
Like
in my
me,
family.
my family are very highly addicted people. When I was in college, I was very hyper aware. All right, you can try out with a little bit of drugs. You can try it out. You can, but no injectables. I already knew. I've never done an injectable. Not that I've ever thought about it. It was just
Mhm.
that I know from the history of looking at my family, you're gonna get addicted. So don't even try
Mhm.
it. You can do a little
Yeah.
marijuana. You might even do a little cocaine.
Okay. Just leave all that other stuff
Any
alone.
anything, but even on that stuff, even on the marijuana on in the white girl, be careful. You
Hmm.
are adapt to not feel the same responses as normal people because of your genetics. So you're gonna have to take
Exactly.
more to feel it because your body is prepositioned to be okay with this
Yeah.
substance.
Yeah.
That's why
Exactly.
it's important for us to have this conversation when it comes to adoption and transracial adoption. So Penny, I asked all my guests this. I'm going to ask you too. If you were speaking to a transracial adoptee right now, or to yourself at age, I don't know, let's say 6, when you can understand and consent, what is one piece of advice that you would give them?
Piece of advice. Just be yourself, probably. Like know that no matter who's judging you or trying to put you in a box or whatever, now or in the future, like just be yourself. Because everything's gonna work out all right and you're gonna turn out great.
Just be yourself. Just be yourself. Well, I love that so much, Penny. Thank you so much for sharing your lived experience. Thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
letting me know your big ass family. You got a big ass family. Like with the adoptive family and the biological family, there's a lot of people. But I
Yeah.
enjoyed learning so much. Do you want to let the people know where they can follow you? You don't have to if you want to stay private, but if you want to let the people know where they can follow you, you can. You can give yourself a
Um,
shout out. And also, if you want to throw your cash app out there, people, the reason I just threw that in because someone sent me a DM and they said, I'm listening to your podcast and I want to help the people directly. They don't. So I was like, so you don't want to help the podcast, but that's okay. I was like, you basic bitch. I already gave my podcast.
hey.
But someone specifically asked me to ask my guests if they have any way of donating to them directly because some people feel more connected to the guests themselves. So I always leave it up to the guest to either leave your social media handle or a cash app or anything that you want people to show you support.
Well, you can follow me on IG. I don't have that many followers, and don't post that often, but it's Indigo Child 698. I'm on TikTok. It's Penny the number 4. You are thoughts. And what is my Cash App? If you do want to send something, that would be nice. That's Penny Pretty 88, capital
Okay.
P's. Yeah, that's my Facebook. If you want to follow me on Facebook, it's Orphan Annie.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, Penny, I will be sending you a signed copy with a personal note of my book, Ward of the State, A Memoir of Foster
Thank
Care.
you.
It is yours. Please read it. I know you're gonna love it. I know you're gonna
I'm
love it after
probably gonna
speaking to
read
you
through it in a
today.
day.
I tell people stop doing that shit. like, like that is not a book. It's big enough. Like it's big enough that you can, but you shouldn't. Like
Okay.
you shouldn't. There is I
I'm a
compressed
ration.
a lot of trauma in 200 pages. Okay, there's a lot of trauma. Like you shouldn't. You can, but if you do read it in one day, take like 4 days off and just love yourself because
I
you're gonna
look
be
forward to
so
reading
hurt.
it.
But yeah, I will be sending that to you for being a guest on the show. Like Penny said, please go and follow her on all her social media that she mentioned. I will leave the links that she mentioned below, as well as her Cash App below in the show descriptions. Please remember to leave us as the show a 5-star rating or review. The more you support us, the more you share the show, the more people I can get on like Penny and keep the show going. Because I think it's very important for me to share this platform. I have the privilege of having thousands and tens of thousands of followers on all my platforms and having a face in this world of content creating. And I want to make sure that foster care and adoptees have a voice and have a face and have a platform and a podcast of our own. So that's why I make this. So please, the 5-star rating review is the free way and the best way to support. And like I say every week, every week, and even on my TikTok videos, always shine your light, because you don't know who it will reach and you don't know who is watching. Even if it's dim, even if you're almost out of battery and it's real dim, there's someone whose light is completely turned off, and they look up and they will see your dim light and they will follow that dim light. Always shine your light, always be an example, always be there for one another. And that's all I gotta say. Thank you, Penny, so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your lived
Thank
experience.
you.
This show is, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of emotional energy for me, but I get so excited to meet people like you. I'm very honored and privileged. I know y'all be coming on the
Thank
show being
you
like,
for
oh my
all
God, I love you. But like, I love y'all. I actually love you, because you actually don't realize I don't get to talk to a lot of, I get thousands of people, but I don't get to actually talk like this, like one-on-one, and to hear the
Yeah.
stories. And it make I would love to do that with everyone, but I can't. So I do want to thank you so much for giving me the
Oh,
opportunity
thank
to share your
you.
lived experience.
Thank you for all your content too. Like, it's awesome.
You're welcome, girl. You know, you be like, damn, I don't know how he could be doing that every day. Well, love on your little ones, and I will let you know when the podcast come out. And when it comes out, y'all support Penny in every way that she directed you to. And always shine your light, Penny, okay?
Thank you too.
Have a good one.